I wasn't supposed to hear it. The phone was still warm in my hand when I realized my son hadn't hung up. We just finished our usual Sunday call, short, polite, distant. He asked how I was feeling. I lied and said, better. He said, good. Then silence. I was about to end the call when I heard his voice again, softer, colder, different. She won't be around much longer anyway. My breath caught. Then his wife laughed. A quiet laugh. Not nervous. Not shocked. Comfortable. Good, she said. Then everything will finally be ours. The line went dead. I sat there staring at the wall, the phone slipping from my fingers. For a long moment I wondered if I'd imagined it. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the medication. Maybe a mother's fear twisting innocent words into something ugly. But deep down I knew. They were talking about me. I was 62 years old, recently diagnosed with a heart condition. Not dying, at least. That's not what the doctor said, but fragile enough for whispers and assumptions. Fragile enough for greed. I had raised my son alone after his father died. 2 jobs, missed meals, missed sleep. Everything I had, every savings account, every property deed, every sacrifice had been for him. And now, in one careless moment, I'd learned the truth. They were waiting. Not that night. Not tomorrow, but soon. I didn't cry. Instead, something cold and steady settled inside my chest. If they thought I was fading quietly, they had badly underestimated me. Over the next few days, I said nothing. I smiled during video calls. I replied with hearts to my daughter-in-law's messages. I let them believe the story they'd already written. But behind the scenes, I started preparing. I met with my doctor again, confirmed the truth. My condition was manageable. With care, I could live decades longer. Then I met with a lawyer and an accountant. And quietly, very quietly, I began changing things. Accounts were frozen. Documents updated. Assets moved into a trust with conditions so specific they felt almost cruel. I didn't do it out of revenge. I did it for clarity. 2 weeks passed. Then the chaos began. The first sign was my son's sudden concern. He started calling every day, asking about my health, offering to drive me to appointments, suggesting I move in with them for safety. His wife started sending homemade soup, vitamins, long messages about how much she loved me like a mother. It would have been touching if I didn't know the truth. I played along. Then one afternoon my bank called. "Ma'am," the representative said carefully, "there was an attempt to access your primary account. We blocked it due to recent changes." I thanked her and hung up. 10 minutes later, my son called. "Mom," he said, voice tight, "did something happen to your accounts?" I paused just long enough. "Oh?" I replied. "Why would you ask?" Silence. Then, "Well, I just thought, with your health, maybe we should simplify things." Simplify. That's when I knew the plan had already begun. Before the call, before the mistake, before I ever knew. That night, they showed up at my house unannounced, concern painted across their faces like a costume. My daughter-in-law clutched my hands, eyes glossy. "We're just worried," she said. "You shouldn't be alone." I looked at my son, the boy I once carried on my hip while working late shifts. He couldn't meet my eyes. I invited them in, served tea, listened. Then I said calmly, "I heard you." Both of them froze. "Heard what?" my son asked. I repeated his words exactly. "She won't be around much longer anyway." The color drained from his face. His wife stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. "That's not," she started. I raised my hand. "I didn't hang up," I said. "You forgot." Silence swallowed the room. Finally, my son whispered, "Mom, it wasn't like that." I smiled sadly. It was exactly like that. I told them everything about the lawyer, the trust, the conditions, how nothing would transfer unless certain requirements were met, how greed had disqualified them from everything. My daughter-in-law exploded. "You're punishing us for one mistake," she shouted. "One truth," I corrected. They left in a storm of accusations and slammed doors. By morning, the family had chosen sides. By nightfall, rumors were spreading. And by the end of the week, something much darker surfaced. The legal letter arrived first. They were contesting my mental fitness, claiming I was confused, manipulated, unstable. That hurt more than the call ever did. But I was ready. Medical evaluations cleared me. Recorded calls proved everything. Even neighbors came forward. mentioning odd visits, questions about my will, pressure I'd never spoken about. Then the truth unraveled faster than anyone expected. My daughter-in-law had already tried to sell one of my properties using old documents. The buyer reported it when discrepancies appeared. An investigation followed, accounts, emails, messages, plans written in plain language. They hadn't just waited for me to die. They'd planned around it. The fallout was brutal. My son lost his job when legal issues surfaced. Their marriage fractured under pressure and blame. Friends disappeared. Support vanished. One evening, my son stood on my doorstep alone. He looked smaller, older. "I forgot who you were," he said quietly. "I thought you'd always be there." And I took that for granted. I didn't hug him, but I didn't shut the door either. "I am still here," I said. That was the problem. I didn't take revenge. I took my life back. I traveled. I laughed again. I reconnected with people who loved me without expecting anything in return. And I lived, not just longer than they expected, but stronger than they ever imagined.